On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to do a little bit different this week due to the changes that came around regarding to AEW Dynamite that will air tomorrow on Saturday. So let's get started with another episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone. All things pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the NWA National Wrestling Alliance, and all promotions, wrestling matches, wrestlers, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So I'm going to talk a little bit before I start with reviewing what happened, starting from last Friday all the way to this past Wednesday for NXT. As you know, there were some certain changes that happened. I'm trying to figure out how to fill the void a little bit, so I decided, go back a little bit, trying to tie up what I can gather to review and all that. So I hope you guys are following what's been going on with AEW. As you know, AEW Dynamite will only air for the next couple weeks on Saturday due to the fact they're having the NBA Finals. Some of you guys are saying, some WWE fans are going out saying they're happy that they're changing because, they think it's permanently, but it's not. TNT would never allow that due to the fact they love their schedule, how it is, So for all you hardcore fans, stop complaining, stop saying you're happy they moved to another thing. But enough of that. Let's get started with New Japan Pro Wrestling. All right. So as you know, there's still, I haven't seen any new material coming all the way from Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but they have been recently throwing on the New Japan Pro Wrestling World live on demand, the New Japan Cup 2020 USA. Now, if you guys are not familiarized with those who are starting to watch this, I'll give you guys a quick preview what this is about. If you know, normally with the New Japan Cup, the winner will face the champion who currently holds the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, which is Evil. But this one was something very different. They wanted to go, as you know, not a lot of the foreign wrestlers are currently in Japan. Mostly those who've been living in Japan, such as Will Ospreay and a small number of wrestlers. But recently, New Japan decided to throw in a little something. As you know, the current IWGP United States champion is none other than Jon Moxley. Now, since Moxley's been here in the United States the entire time, unable to go to Japan because of the restrictions due to the pandemic, apparently they decided to give the wrestler a chance to fight for that title. So the New Japan Cup USA is mostly whoever wins this tournament will face Jon Moxley for the IWGP United States title. So far we already have the first round that took place, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and last week we had the semifinals. But they had only 2 matches for the semifinals, and they had 2 matches of tag team going on. So let's go from start to finish, starting with the tag team matches that they have. The first match was Barrett Brown and Logan Regal facing off against young lion Clark Connors, who's part of the LA Dojo, and of course Jordan Clearwater. If you guys are not familiarized with him, he's a wrestler from the local SoCal wrestling scene. I've seen him only once during a Level Up show, but I wasn't too much fond of this match because there's still some wrestlers I'm not familiarized. I've seen Jordan mostly, but I'll tell you who won this one. This one was won by Barrett Brown and Logan Regal. So I'm not too fond of this. The next match is a regular standard 6-man tag team match. This one was a bit more fun for me because I recognize some of these wrestlers. The first team was PJ Black, Blake Christian, and Misterioso facing off against TJP, ACH, and Alex Zane. Now, I have familiarized, you guys may know PJ Black as Justin Gabriel back in WWE when he was part of the Nexus. There was, of course, we have Blake Christian, I mentioned him before. He made appearances with GCW. And of course, we all know who TJP is and ACH. Alex Zane, he also is part. I've seen him with GCW for a long time. This match was pretty interesting. I was a bit biased who was going to win this one, but there were some great spots, great high flying on this one. But the winners on this one was TJP, Blake Christian, and Mysterioso. This one, I have to say, this is a good match to watch because, like I said, the first tag team match, I wasn't too fond. But the second one, better. Now let's jump in with the semifinals for the New Japan Cup. First match was David Finlay versus Tama Tonga. Now, these two guys are not, they're very familiarized with each other. If you all recall, it was David Finlay along with his partner, Juice Robinson, that defeated Tama Tonga and his brother Tongaloa, GOD, the Gorillas of Destiny, for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship back at Wrestle Kingdom 14. So basically, it's more like a revenge type of status for Tama, but David Finlay knows exactly what he was doing. So this was a really awesome match because we're getting to see David Finlay and Tama more into the singles competition. As you know, we've mostly been seeing Tama doing tag team, but since he's been stepping into, I have to say I was impressed with his skills as a singles competitor. But we'll see how far more. I would love to see him more do singles competitors. But the winner for this one was, by surprise, it was David Finlay. So he goes to the finals. The final match for this was Kenta versus Jack Cobb. Now, basically, I wasn't sure who was going to win. Now, a part of me was telling me it was going to be Kenta, due to the fact Kenta is like that despicable person that we haven't forgotten when he betrayed Shibata, last year, and it was so insane. But I wasn't sure how this was going to go. So Kenta was taunting Jeff Cobb most of the time, but Jeff Cobb was able to pull through it, and he was able to win. But apparently something changed. The referee got knocked down thanks to Kenta pushing Jeff Cobb, and then he tried to give him the low a kick to the groin once, but it didn't work. Second time, it won. It helped him win the match. So it's gonna be for the semifinals. It's gonna air tonight. It's gonna be Kenta versus David Finlay. This is gonna be one interesting match. So if you guys don't have NJPW World Live on Demand, do so now. It's like only 999 yen. From what I understand, it's like almost $10 or so. I'm not sure. I'm not good with Japanese money, So if you guys want to look into it, look it up on Google or something. So I think that's about it I got for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that will continue more on this one. Sorry for the delay for this. I will throw in this one perhaps Monday or so, but we'll see how it goes. So right now, let's move on with two reviews for AEW. Alright, so we're going to do two reviews from two different events that AEW posts out. The first one is going to be the semifinals for the Women's Tag Team Cup. Now, if you guys haven't been following this, they already completed the first round in 2 weeks, and it was alright. There was some teams I am impressed, and some teams I kind of felt who were going to go to the finals. But let's start with the first match. First match, it's the Nightmare Sisters, Allie and Brandy Rhodes, alongside with QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes, facing off against Little and Big Swole. This match was alright, but the one thing that kind of, I wasn't sure exactly if this was the right match, because the thing is, like, I was like hoping they'll put like either Tay Conti or Anna Jay, but I have to say this, I think I know where they're going with this exactly. The match was great. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there were some great spots from both teams, but the most interesting spot was Britt Baker getting involved in the match. If you guys recall, there's still some beef between both Britt Baker and Big Swole. Let me go back to how that happened. When Big Swole made her return, Britt Baker was getting in her face. She didn't do anything wrong with her, but she just steps in, goes out being the role model, and Big Swole got in her face too many times. She kidnapped her. She threw trash at her. Britt Baker even got her suspended. and now she cost her the opportunity for advancing for the Women's Tag Team Cup. And the winners was, of course, Brandy Rhodes and Allie. Allie picked up the victory on this one. The next match was one I kind of felt like this was a perfect match. We had Tay Conti along with Anna Jay from the Dark Order facing off against La Sicaria, Ivelisse, and Diamante. Now, this was a match I really liked a lot. Reason is, if you look at Ivelisse and Diamante, we have two Hispanic women, but from two different Hispanic countries. Ivelisse, she's Puerto Rican. Diamante, Cuban. It's a perfect combination from what I can see. You know, I mean, I have to agree with certain people. They should bring them in full time to be AEW, and Santana and Ortiz can leave Inner Circle and form a somewhat version of LAX. I would love to see that. But this match was amazing, I have to say. But I did suspect who was going to win this match, because it would be an interesting way how this would go to showcase more of Latina women as well. As you know, there's that whole diversity, but I like Ivelisse and Diamante because I've been a fan of Ivelisse when I saw her at Lucha Underground a couple years back. So, but I love how this match ended. We see Ivelisse and Diamante advancing to the finals, and they will be facing the Nightmare Sisters tomorrow at AEW Dynamite for the Women's Tag Team Cup. Now, this is a match you cannot miss. So, hope you guys watch it. It's going to be great. Now, let's talk about AEW Dark. Now, some of you may not like me talking about this, but I like watching AEW Dark because there's certain things that I like about it, you know. So, the first match we had is Kip Sabian versus Michael Nakasawa. Now, as you all know, Michael Nakasawa, he's the master of Turkish oil wrestling. He used his oil many times over, but of course, you cannot stop a guy like Kip Sabian. He always finds a way to win, even if Penelope Ford is right at his corner. But, of course, Kip won the match, as always. Poor Michael Nakasawa. Next match, we have a tag team. We have Sean Dean teaming with Frank Stone versus the Jersey Boys, Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. I've always been a fan of Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, how they are as a team. If you guys are familiarized with them, they've always been good as a singles competitor. But since teaming up, it made them more popular because, as you know, AEW, our primary focus is the tag team division. And we can agree that outside of WWE, AEW has the best tag team division ever. You know, but it was great. I love what they did in this match, and Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela picked up the victory on this one. Next match, we have the Hybrid 2 versus the Initiative. Now, as you all know, the Initiative has been on a losing streak. But however, I see a lot of improvements with the Initiative. Like, they're working together as a team. They're acting more cohesive. But it's only a matter of time, in my opinion, that they will pick up their first victory somehow, some way, against any team that we know. Every time we see the Initiative, they always face against a team that has more wins. Maybe, I don't know how many wins. But that's how it turns out. And I think the Initiative will pick up their victory soon as we think. So, but apparently it did not happen that way. It was the Hybrid 2 that picked up the victory. And this one goes to Hybrid 2. Next match, we have a women's match. We have Red Velvet versus the Scary Abaddon. I'm not too much feeling on this. I'm not familiarized with Abaddon that much as I like to know, but she's on a winning streak. I know the first time I saw her, she lost against Hikaru Shida, but I don't know. But I do know she is all elite. She's part of the roster. But I hope I get to see more what she can do, you know, because the thing is with these times, having wrestlers be the jobbers, she needs to be in better competition. That's my opinion, how they should go. So, Abaddon picks up the victory on this one. Next match, we have Fabio Andre, Ryson, and D3 facing Dark Order members Alex Reynolds and John Silver and Colt Cabana. Now, I wasn't too fond of this match, but I'll tell you anyway, it was the Dark Order who won, you know, because thing is, like, some of the jobbers I'm familiarized with, others I don't. Excuse me. Then we have Ricky Starks facing off against Lee Johnson, one of MJF's staff members. But I've always been a fan of Ricky Starks. I like his gimmick, how he's very absolute or whatever he calls himself. But I'll say he picked up the victory. But the interesting part is Warlow shows up. Now I thought he was gonna beat up Lee Johnson for losing, but it was like no. He just reminded him to wear his pin. As you know, MJF is asking fans that he wants to vote for him as AEW World Champion. So we'll see where they go from there. Next match, we have a handicap match. We had Lance Archer versus Jesse Sorensen and John Cruz. Basically what happened is John Sorensen comes out in the entranceway, waited for John Cruz to come out, but it did not turn out that way. It turns out John Cruz got himself beat up, dragged outside, carried on Lance Archer's shoulder. So it explains as Archer, he got to him and took care of him. It's so insane. But as always, like Lance Archer says, everybody dies. And that's what happened. So everybody did die. Then we have a singles competition. We have Billy Gunn of the Gun Club facing off Dark Order member Alan Angels, better known as Five. This was a very interesting match, but however, I wasn't too much fond of it because I would love to see more of Alan Angels and some of the members of Dark Order, see what it can do. But as Alan Angels, we've seen him before. That he can hang with the big boys. But but Billy Gunn picked up the victory as soon as the match was over. Reynolds and Silver and Ten show up, but apparently here comes Billy's son Austin with the chair and took care of them. I don't know if there's going to be a feud with these guys because right now Dark Order are on a feud with certain people, so we'll see where they go for this. Then we go to our main event, The Butcher and the Blade teaming with the Lucha Brothers, facing off against SCU members Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and of course Private Party. But I'll skip this one as well. It was the Butcher and the Blade, along with the Lucha Brothers, that won. This one was a good match. I'm not gonna lie about it. It was good. Sometimes I get lost in the shuffle with the 8-man tag because it's too many people. I can barely keep up who's the legal man. But yeah, but the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers are continuing their winning streaks. But to me, I started to like the Butcher and the Blade. I feel like they should get a chance of the tag team titles. I mean, you probably, if you guys are been following these guys, you want to see them win, and that's pretty cool too. I would love to see them face off against Kenny and Hangman for the tag team titles. So I think that's about it for AEW. So I hope you guys get to see AEW Dynamite airing tomorrow, showing the continuation of the Women's Tag Team Cup and many more. So for now, let's move on to Impact Wrestling's Emergence Night 1. Alright, so we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling's Emergence Night 1. The first match of that night was the X Division Championship match in a triple threat match between TJP, Rohit Raju, and Chris Bay. Now, as you all know the whole story, how this whole match began, ever since Chris Bay became the X Division champion, beating Willie Mack, he was approached by Rohit Raju, telling him that he now has a target in his back. Now, for some odd reason, I've always believed that Rohit Raju was playing some sort of a dangerous game. So, over the couple of weeks, he's been trying to convince TJP, believing that he has no interest in the X, that he has his real interest on the X Division. But that's backwards. TJP and Falabao have mostly been interested in involving themselves in the tag team division, but Rohit Raju used that as a way to gain entry. So the match was kind of like a handicap match, but out of nowhere, Rohit Raju stole one and won the X Division Championship for the first time. This, to me, will become an interesting feud between Chris Bay and Rohit Raju. Here's the way I see it. Rohit Raju was playing the dangerous game, like I said. So the idea, what I'm gonna see, is that he's gonna try to confront Rohit Raju for what he's done, tricking him, believing that TJP wanted something to do with the X division, but he has nothing to do with that. TJP all cares about him and Fall Out uniting themselves and winning the Impact Wrestling tag team titles. That's always been on his mind. But Rohit Raju somehow was able to weasel his way to get to the top. He was the one person within the company, in the promotion, that he was in the bottom of the food chain, and somehow he weaseled his way up. So I don't know how what's going to happen once Emergence is going to be over. Next thing we see is another episode of the Wrestle House. As you know, there's been tensions between Rosemary and Johnny E. Bravo. Like, they're too afraid to admit their feelings, but they do have something, they do feel something for each other. But the problem is, Johnny Bravo still is obligated to work with Taya Valkyrie. That's always been the case. So what happened is, Rosemary got a little chat with Crazy Steve. All of a sudden, you see Crazy Steve and Johnny Bravo playing a little doll. He has a little monkey, while Johnny has the doggy. You know, that was kind of unusual. But of course, there's now becoming tensions between Ace Romero and Larry D. So later on, it became a match. So we'll get to that in a bit. And then we see the Good Brothers are ready to fight against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. If you recall, ever since they first arrived, Ace and Madman has been getting on the skins of the Good Brothers. 2 weeks ago, they were able to put Doc Gallows in jail for something he did, where he punched a ref, getting on his skin. But this time, the Good Brothers will get their revenge. Now, the next match, this one is for the so-called TNA World Heavyweight title. As we know, for months, ever since the start of the pandemic, Moose has been trying to say that he is a world champion. He did not beat nobody for that title. He just took the title from wherever it was stored at and made himself that title is more important than the Impact. But recently, he has been haunted by EC3. EC3 made it clear a week earlier, it's nothing personal. He just wants to destroy the TNA World Heavyweight title, to destroy his past. Now, Moose may think he's out of his mind, but at the same time, he actually set out an invitation a week ago, who he thought was Suicide, but in reality, it was Trey Miguel underneath the mask. Now, in the match, it was him, Moose, putting the title on the line versus Trey Miguel. But he was not too pleased. He kept going, saying, I gave the invitation to Suicide. But I have to say, Trey Miguel did an amazing job being the ultimate underdog. There is no doubt in my mind that he's on the road to become a world champion. That I can believe. But as soon as the match was over, thanks to Moose, EC3 shows up and attacks him again. But this time, he takes the TNA World title. Now, I don't know exactly what he's going to do. I know for a fact Moose is going to go crazy to find out where his title's at. He's going to go out, put a reward, trying to give thousands or millions of dollars, whoever gives him information, where EC3 is. I think right now, Moose has to face the reality. This is no longer about him being world champion. This is about a man who believes that he has to destroy his past to be free, but the only way to do so is to destroy the TNA World title. That is something Moose has to do. So basically, you're looking at a guy who has a different agenda versus a guy who claims he's a champion. So we'll see where that goes. Then we see a little skit. If you'll recall, weeks ago, Rhino somehow sneaked his way for taking all the money that he and Hernandez put. But a week ago, Hernandez has hired Reno Scum to take Rhino out, which they did. And of course, Rhino gave half of what he owned to Reno Scum and told him that he'll probably call him for some work. So basically, Reno Scum is the guys for hire. That's the way it's been. Then they showed an Impact Plus flashback moment of the week. This is where Eric Young is becoming the deranged psychopath that we now started to see against Kurt Angle. So that's a really good match to watch. So if you guys have the Impact Plus, it's only $9.99, kind of like the WWE Network, so you can look into that. Next up, we see Willie Mack. He's still trying to deal with what just happened with Eric Young attacking his best friend, Rich Swann, but he was interrupted by Brian Myers. Brian Myers feels they need to shut up about Willie Mack and Rich Swann. It's all about him. But Willie Mack does not appreciate someone butting into his business where he's trying to talk about someone who just announced his early retirement. But of course, Willie Mack got in the face of Brian Myers. It's already been set for the night 2 of Emergence. They're going to face off. And then we have a little promo by Heath where we talk about Heath for Impact. Now, please, if you guys want to see Heath in Impact, just hashtag it. I don't care if it's on Twitter or Instagram. Who knows? But hashtag it. Then we have the Good Brothers versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, we know how we love to see two huge behemoths face off. We were all mostly wanting to see Gallows and Fulton face off. That's always been one of those matches we want to see. And of course, it was happening. Now, the way I was trying to visualize, how is this going to go? Is this going to be where Ace Austin and Madman Fulton use one of their tricks to win, or the Good Brothers, as tough as they are, they win? So, it went option B, Good Brothers win. So, I don't know for sure if this rivalry between the both teams is going to continue on, but we just got to wait and see for the as soon as the Emergence is over. Next up we have is continuation with the Wrestle House. As you know, everybody's going crazy. Someone stole the Deaner's beer. Yeah, they're upset. At first they thought it was AC Romero. It wasn't him. But all of a sudden, tensions between Rosemary and Larry D between like an affection. Rosemary put a spell on Larry D, calling himself Lawrence D. AC doesn't know what the world is going on. And then we have that match between Kylie Ray and Taya Valkyrie. But Rosemary was the ref, so somehow they were Kylie was able to weasel away by, even though Rosemary did not want to continue the pin, but that's what happened. But like I said, Lawrence D, or should we call him just Larry D, is still under the spell of Rosemary, making Johnny E. Bravo jealous, which is kind of fun to watch. So, but the obvious question later that started in this part of the episode: who stole the Deaner's beer? Sorry, but we just gotta wait and see. My money, I think it was Susie. Don't ask why. Because reason I say that, that's bad. Beer is bad. I don't drink beer, but I'm just playing along what the story goes. But yeah. So now we go to the main event. This one was for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. As you know, after Slammiversary, the Motor City Machine Guns challenged the North for the Impact World Tag Team titles. Ever since the Motor City Machine Guns beat them for the titles, the North was feeling disrespected, disgusted that they lost. But in a way, after the match, people were talking about the North. They were talking about how successful they were, all this, that, getting interviews. But the North felt, this is a load of crap. We have been the longest reigning Impact World Tag Team titles. We didn't get this treatment. So they're treating like, yes, you've beaten wrestlers, for over a year now. But you've always been cocky about it. Motor City Machine Guns are a different name and a different level. So that's always been the story. So this time, it was more like they cashed in the rematch clause for Emergence. They say they weren't ready for the Motor City Machine Guns after Slammiversary. So they decided to cash it in now to prepare themselves. But this match was so intense, you don't know for sure if the North were able to regain the titles. But as you know, Ethan Page has this ego where he finds a way to sneak around to win the match. That's always been his case. But this time, it did not work. But luckily, it showed the Motor City Machine Guns, they're still in their A game. They haven't missed a beat. But of course, Motor City Machine Guns win the match, retaining the Impact World Tag Team titles. So the real question now, that means the North has to start from the bottom and go to the top. But who is next to face one of the best tag teams in Impact Wrestling's history right now for the tag team titles? I don't know. So if you guys have any idea or any clue who you think should face the Motor City Machine Guns, leave a comment on that and we'll talk about it, and I'll possibly talk about it something down the line in the future on my podcast. So right now, let's end it right now with the NXT. Alright, so we're not that far off from NXT Takeover 30. Now we're getting into the series. As you know, Keith Lee relinquished his North American title ever since he won the winner-take-all match against Adam Cole. Now, apparently recently there have been some changes that took place. There was wrestlers that were chosen to be part of the Second Chances match. Dexter Lumis, on the other hand, was amongst those wrestlers that had to step down due to the fact that he injured himself. If you recall, he was in a match against Balor and Timothy Thatcher. Basically, he jumped off the ring by you flipping out, and what they didn't show was edit out that he injured his ankle. Now, I was so bummed to see Dexter Lumis being pulled out of this match. I would have loved to seen him, but this is not the end for him. We know he'll be back as soon as he recovers. Now, they specifically chosen 4 wrestlers for 2 different matches. These are wrestlers that were not pinned or submitted in their respected matches for the Triple Threat Series for the North American title ladder match taking place. So the first match of the night was Johnny Gargano versus Rich Holland. Now, before that, Johnny Gargano has always been believing that Rich Holland doesn't have nothing on him. But oh man, if you guys saw what happened during the match, you'd be shocked to be like, whoa. He hit his head hard. It was edited out. Now, Rich Holland, I don't know how things go. As you know, when something like this happened, they have to stop the match to see if Johnny is okay. Is he okay? Thing is, safety comes first if you guys follow wrestling better than anybody. But it continued on, and out of nowhere, Gargano won thanks to Candice LeRae helping him out. So that means Johnny Gargano joins Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Cameron Grimes in the ladder match. So there's one spot left. That will be at the main event for the Second Chances. Next thing we got is Dakota Kai versus Jessie McKay, whatever her name is. As you know, Dakota Kai is set to face the Genius of the Sky, Io Shirai, for the NXT Women's title. Dakota Kai has always felt that she's been held down by many people, believing that that title belongs to her. The Io Shirai is not the lead NXT Women's Champion. She should be the one leader. She's been getting in her head, but Io Shirai has had enough of her. She showed up once Dakota Kai won her match. But Jessie, I have to say she did a pretty good job. I don't know who she is, but I can't wait to see more of her if they post her out. But as soon as Io Shirai comes out to take it out on Dakota Kai, out of nowhere, Raquel Gonzalez shows up. Dakota Kai said that she doesn't need anyone. But the real question is, was this a mind game by Dakota Kai to find a way to ensure she wins the title? So that's the question. Can the Genius of the Sky overcome the odds against Dakota Kai and her insurance policy, Raquel Gonzalez? All we gotta do is see that tomorrow on NXT Takeover. So let's move on. So the next thing we see is the interview with Tegan Nox. As you know, there has been a bit friction between Candice LeRae and Tegan Nox. Tegan Nox has always been looking at Candice as a sister, but Candice was mad with her for what she did about a few months ago. As you recall, Candice and Johnny Gargano entered a feud against Keith Lee and Mia Yim, and Tegan was playing a little small part where she delivered pizza. Candice believed that that's a total disrespect of her getting involved in her business, But Tegan was not involved in their business. She was just playing a part. But Candice LeRae took it hard. But right now, the only reason Candice LeRae is attacking her, my guess is, ever since she was #1 contender, the face against Io Shirai for the title, Candice always felt that she was being overlooked and giving people like Tegan Nox opportunities and lose. But Tegan Nox is trying to understand what is her problem? Why is she being this person? So we don't know. Hopefully, we get to see this feud go on to the next takeover, whenever that's going to take place. Next thing we see is Finn Balor sending a message to Velveteen Dream. As you recall, months ago, that there was supposed to be a match between Velveteen Dream and Finn Balor, but it didn't go out that way. It kind of changed because Finn Balor got himself into a feud against Damian Priest. But now this feud is rekindled back to, and it turns out Finn Balor and Velveteen Dream are part of the Second Chances to enter the ladder match for the North American Championship at NXT Takeover 30. Next match we see is a 6-man tag team match. Legado del Fantasma versus Breezango and Isaiah Swerve. Now this feud has gone far too long. Legado has been feeling that Breezango has disrespected them by impersonating luchadors, thinking that they're making fun of them. But they're not. Breezango are a couple of wrestlers that like to have fun, and they treat it like what you guys are doing is a disrespect. But as for Isaiah Swerve Scott, Santos Escobar hasn't forgotten there was only one man that was able to beat him, and that man was Scott during the Cruiserweight tournament. And it makes him like he wants to right a wrong, but Scott does not like the fact that he called him out, even though he's disrespected, knowing you turn your back on what you thought you were, what we thought you were. So the feud was great. They tried to isolate everyone, but it wasn't enough. Even though I'm not sure if there's going to be a match between Legado Fantasma, Santos Escobar and Isaiah Swerve Scott for the NXT Cruiserweight. But I feel like right now they're just building the story up. Maybe in a few weeks or in the next takeover, we'll see Scott and Santos for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. So that's my best guess how it is. But Legado Fantasma took the victory. They're proving their dominance. Now, next thing we have is that little showdown, face-to-face confrontation between Adam Cole and Pat McAfee. As you recall 2 weeks ago, Pat McAfee thought that she buried a hatchet between both Cole and him, but apparently he continues to disrespect Adam Cole, saying all this, not only costing his teammates the tag team titles, they got into the fate. But apparently what happened is they tried to restrain Cole from hurting Pat, and Pat was able to punt him in the face. So basically, Cole brought his buddies, the rest of the Undisputed Era, and of course Pat brought his pals. So he's telling them that being in pro wrestling is going to be easy for him, that he's going to make sure that he's going to be embarrassed when he punts him. But of course he's trying to get into his face. Cole beat up the security guards, sending a message but he did warn him that he will make him his bitch. So this is going to be an interesting feud at NXT Takeover. But we're going to see where this was going to go. Next thing we see is a women's tag team match. We have the Robert Stone brand, Aaliyah and Mercedes Martinez versus Shotzi Blackheart and Rhea Ripley. Now, as you recall, their feud these two had countered with the Robert Stone brand too many times. Shotzi ran over Robert Stone with her tank maybe twice, but she got beat up by Mercedes Martinez. Robert Stone still has his issues towards Rhea Ripley, costing her an opportunity to face Io Shirai for the title. But this time, this match went feud on. But the biggest feud you gotta pay attention is Mercedes Martinez and Ripley. This is one of those matches that should have been already in NXT TakeOver, but it's not. I think they're building it more. What happened before the end of the match, Rhea Ripley powerbombed Mercedes Martinez outside the ring where the camera's face is off. That is the most scariest thought. Robert Stone runs out, trying to check up on her, and of course, Shotzi Blackheart picked up the victory by pinning Aaliyah. So this is going to be one interesting feud with Shotzi Blackheart and Ripley versus the Robert Stone brand, showing them they're still dominant. Even though at the end they were laughing how Ripley took out Martinez. I have a feeling this is not gonna go end. So I hope this feud continues, because this, like I said, this should have been on NXT TakeOver, but I feel they need more time to build up the story. So now let's jump into the main event, which is the second chance between Finn Balor and Velveteen Dream. This match was mostly dominated by Velveteen Dream, and I did not know what to expect. But at some point in this match, Cameron Grimes, who is cocky, arrogant, trying to say he's going to win this title. He claims that once he gets the title, he's going to go to the moon. But he forgets, you got 4 other people you got to go with. Right now, you got Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, and whoever wins this match will be involved. But at the same time, the more that Cameron Grimes was getting involved, others got involved too. We got Johnny Gargano. He even got himself involved too, but he got beat up. And then all of a sudden, here comes Bronson Reed, Damian Priest. But the match could have won in Finn Balor's favor, except for Timothy Thatcher, who showed up and took out Finn Balor and letting Velveteen Dream wins. So basically, this feud for whoever wins the North American Championship this Saturday at NXT Takeover is going to be one bombastic match. But here's the way I would see it. I have that distinct feeling, since we now know who's going to be involved. Now we have Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, and Velveteen Dream. Who's going to walk? Now, for me, the wild card that I think is going to walk out as champion is Bronson Reed. Now, anything can go between Velveteen Dream and Johnny Gargano, because they're the ones with the most already been North American champions before. But as for Priest and Cameron Grimes, I can picture Damian Priest winning it, but I don't know how that goes. But before I go end this here, I do believe the next feud, the feud that is going to happen real soon, is going to be Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. Now, as you all recall, Finn Balor had nothing to do with Timothy Thatcher losing at the Triple Threat Series. It was Dexter Lumis who put him in the pin. He was the one who passed out. So that's my assumption right now with that. So there could be a feud between Finn Balor and Timothy Thatcher, and I can't wait to see that when that happens. So for now, I have to say, hope you guys enjoy this episode. The next one, I want to give you guys the good news. Right now, this episode you're watching is episode 99. So the next episode will be 100. I'm like so stoked. I can't even believe it. I go up to 100 episodes. But I'm gonna be saving that for the New Japan Strong, which features the finals for the New Japan Cup USA, and of course, AEW Dynamite and NXT Takeover 30. Now, those two are going to be interesting to watch. We're going to see who actually is going to be seeing what when it happens. And of course, there is a possibility I could review SummerSlam, but that all depends how the day is going to be for me. As you know, I don't watch WWE that much except for NXT, but we'll see how that goes. But for now, I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah! And have a nice day. Bang!